Hello and welcome to the video on personal readers and word banks. This video will teach you how to do this type of homework in the kindergarten class. Personal readers are a collection of familiar reading materials that are stored in a folder for students to reread. So this includes rhymes, poems, group dictations, or memorable short passages from books. Each child will have their own personal reader in the classroom, and they will bring it home once a week and for homework reread the passages with you. It's a growing collection, so we may start with just a couple of poems and then slowly add to it throughout the school year. One of the main ways we use personal readers is to read it over and over again. Having kids repeatedly read text aloud actually does improve reading ability, research shows. And so they also help develop student sight vocabulary, and we'll talk more about that when we get into the word bank portion of this video. It also helps develop students' fluency and expression when they read, and concept of word. Concept of word is basically matching spoken words to the written words. So how do we use the personal readers for homework? Well, when your child brings home their personal reader, have them choose 2 to 3 passages from the personal reader and have them read it to you or read it together. You could read it in a variety of ways. You could take turns reading a passage. You could do echo reading where you read one line of text and then your child reads that same line of text in the same way that you read it. Choral reading, where you read it together like a duet. You could read in silly voices. Whatever motivates your child to read the text is okay. Please also have your child write a tally mark on the bottom of the paper for each time that they read the text. So you can see in this Caps for Sale example, there are tally marks. So this child has read it 16 times. And so that just helps us to keep a record of how many rereadings they have done. Please also write your initials on the back of the text that your child has read to you. There are many different stages of development in a child's reading ability, and one of those beginning stages is what we call an emergent reader. And so this is typically where most kindergartners begin kindergarten. So let's just define what an emergent reader is real quick. So emergent readers are at the beginning stages of reading, so they can't read in the conventional way that you and I read, but they are able to follow predictable or patterned text by using supports such as memory or pictures in a book or print. Perhaps they know the letter S. So they also, emergent readers, they don't yet represent beginning, middle, or end sounds when they're trying to write a word. So if your child is an emergent reader, and many of the kindergartners will be, please keep in mind that emergent children in the emergent stages of reading will read their personal readers from memory. So don't be alarmed by that. But through repetition of reading, and as we engage throughout the school year in literacy studies, this pretend reading that they engage in will turn into real reading. They'll start to learn to track print as they use sounds and letters to finger point, and they'll start storing words in their memory. So reading from memory really is a way to support emergent readers. Think about training wheels on a bike. So if that's where your child is at, if they're an emergent reader, don't be alarmed if they are reading from memory. It won't stay that way forever. And we are doing lots of things to help build up their literacy skills so they will rely less and less on memory and pictures. If your child is beyond the emergent stage and of reading, then please encourage them to decode some of the sounds or words that they are developmentally prepared to read. But what we don't want to do is expect that a child that can only read consonant, vowel, consonant words like hat or cup, we don't want to expect them to decode a word like elephant or circus. That just isn't, they're not developmentally ready for that yet. So there are two parts to this homework. Part one is the personal reader, which we have just discussed. Part two are the word banks. Word banks are a collection of known words that we collect from the text in a student's personal reader. So on the right side of the screen, you can see that in this poem, the Hello Song, the child has looked for words that they can recognize readily. And so they've underlined those words, look and hi. So it's really important that these are words that the child already knows and recognizes. And we take those words and write them on cards, as you can see in the upper right-hand corner. And those words will now be in the child's word bank. And they'll review these words over and over again to help those words really solidify in their memory. So the reason that we have a word bank is because it really helps build a child's sight word vocabulary. And so sight word vocabulary are those words that a child can read automatically without having to decode the words letter by letter. And so we really want to build up that child's sight word vocabulary. And one way to do that is by starting with words that they already know and have them examine those words in context, like in the poem here, and out of context when they're in isolation, like on the word cards. Children that are in the beginning stages of reading really need to review words that they already know because they don't know them as assuredly as more mature readers like you and I know words. So, for example, a student may see the word ship and the word stop and may confuse them because they both contain an S at the beginning and a P at the end. So, practicing words in a word bank can really help them inspect all of the details of a word to help them not confuse them anymore. The other point about word banks is to notice that the texts are numbered. You can see a little number 3 at the bottom of the Hello Song chorus, and that corresponds to the word bank cards. So you can see that look and hi, the little cards, also have a number 3 on them. And the reason for that is if your child is reading the word bank cards, which we'll talk more about how to do later, and let's say they don't remember what LOOK spells, then what they'll do is look at the 3 and know that that corresponds to the third poem in their personal reader. They'll open up their personal reader to number 3, and then they can use the context clues within this poem to help them identify the word look. So they might read, give them your right hand, oh, and recognize, oh yeah, the word is look. So that's just a more supportive way and developmentally appropriate way to help kids build up their sight word vocabulary. So now that we've discussed what a word bank actually is, we need to talk about what you will do with that word bank for homework time with your child. So it's really important to review word bank words regularly to help secure those words in memory. So what you'll be doing is a lot of practice with them. So the most basic way to practice the word bank words is to have your child read through their word cards, say the words they know, and place them in one pile, and then place the unknown words that they can't remember in another pile. And then for those unknown words, have that child go back to their personal reader and figure out the word in context. As students improve on their word knowledge, you can ask them to sound out the word, but most kindergartners and beginning readers are not ready for that yet. They don't have that word knowledge yet, so relying on context is the best option, at least in the beginning of the year. There are other ways to review and work with the words in your child's word bank besides just sorting them by known and unknown words. And I will put a list of all of these activities and the directions for how to play them in your child's homework journal, so you'll have easy access to that. And also I'll put it on the blog so that you can look at it there as well. But the games or activities include games like concentration, going on word hunts, building sentences, sorting the words in various ways, alphabetizing them, things like that. And you can find the details of how to play those games again in the homework journal and on the blog. The most important part is that your child is reviewing their word bank words regularly. So just to review what this homework entails, you'll spend approximately 5 minutes reading with your child from the personal reader, and then shift to working with the word bank words for about 5 minutes. These timings are approximate, so it doesn't have to be exactly 5 minutes. I have found that my students are really proud of their personal readers and love coming home and sharing what they have learned at school or written at school, and so I hope you enjoy this homework time with your child. Please let me know if you have questions or concerns or need extra clarification on any of the activities. I would be happy to meet with you and explain. Thanks for watching.